I got this question for someone the other day, and they asked me, should married couples or couples in general pool their money together? And I thought this was interesting because this is something that I definitely have an opinion on, and it's not a popular one, but I think it's really important that you think about this topic, especially if you're thinking about getting married, because it is so critical. It really is going to define a lot of your financial future in your life if you have separate finances or not. So should you have separate finances? Absolutely not. You should not have separate finances. I know that's going to shock a lot of you people, but let me tell you exactly why that is. So first of all, let me just say, I'm just amazed by how many married people have separate finances. I just think it's insane, to be honest with you. I mean, really, like your wife is going to pay half of the rent. It just baffles me that so many men would tolerate and allow that to happen. If I am the head of a household, I'm going to take care of that household from a financial perspective. It doesn't mean that my wife can't work or something like that. That's fine if she wants to work or your spouse wants to work. That's fine. But you as a man are still responsible financially and physically for the welfare of everyone in your household. That's what it is to be a man. I think we've lost a lot of the sense of that. And what I would say, a lot of people say, what if she's financially irresponsible? I don't want her spending my money or doing this. Don't marry someone that you don't trust financially. I think that's really important, is that not only do you need to trust this person financially, is they need to trust you financially in the sense that they need to realize they need to give you that authority and be willing to give you that authority in the area of finances as a man. If you don't want to get married, totally fine. You can make the decision. But if you are going to get married, you need to actually be the man. You need to be the authority when it comes to finances, when it comes to life, because you need to actually be the head of the household. If you're not going to do that, then don't get married. You don't have to get married. It's not something that you have to do. But a ship doesn't function with multiple captains. You have to be the captain of the ship. And so many guys today, they're wusses. They're afraid to step up. They're afraid to be men. They have this idea that, oh, everything is equal. Now, value-wise, everything is equal, but not everyone has the same roles. And if you're in a relationship with a woman, you need to actually be the man and let her be the woman. And part of being the man is taking upon the financial responsibility. Again, it doesn't mean that you have to be the sole breadwinner, but you have to be responsible for the finances, which means that you shouldn't have separate finances in that space. As a man, you take care of your wife and your children, period. There's just no excuses around that. Now, again, like I said, even if your wife works and you pool your money together, she could still have her separate account for gifts and stuff like that. I think that's totally fine. I know a lot of couples do that successfully because it allows her to have some gifts, money that she can spend on you and to feel like she's actually giving a gift or even just some kind of discretionary type of money. I think that's totally fine. What I don't think is fine is when couples are like, well, you pay half of the rent and I pay half the rent and I'll pay half this bill and you pay this bill. That's ridiculous. It becomes a negotiated contract. In fact, it's funny. There's a book, really good book I highly recommend by Harry Brown called How I Became Free in an Unfree World. And in that book, he actually has a chapter on marriage. And he specifically says from a libertarian perspective that you should have separate finances and come to agreements. And he lays it out. And the logic that he lays out makes a lot of sense. But then in the epilogue to the book, because there's an updated version of the book, he was like, I was wrong about that. He ended up getting married. He ended up having combined and pooled finances and realized that it's kind of ridiculous to try and lay out a contract in terms of financial obligations to someone who you are supposed to be completely trusting and you're supposed to be responsible for, not just physically, but financially responsible for. And that's what it is to be a man. So it's kind of interesting that even someone with a completely libertarian viewpoint like that eventually came to that conclusion, even though he had written about that. And what he said when I read that, it made a lot of logical sense. Believe me, guys, I understand all of the logical arguments for having separate finances. But in the end of the day, it comes down to you being a man. And here's what I think it comes down to is that respect and authority come from responsibility. You cannot have respect and authority without responsibility. So you have to take upon the financial responsibility. As a man, I see so many guys that don't do this. And again, we could take this even to the dating space. Guys ask me all the time, they're like, hey, John, who should pay for the check? Or should you split the check when you go take a girl out on a date? And it's like, why are you even asking this question? What you should do is when the bill comes, you don't even look at the bill and you just put your credit card into the thing and you slide it over to the edge of the table and ignore it. Because it's not a question of whether you should pay for it. If you ask a girl out on a date, you absolutely should pay for it. Part of the reason why you're doing that is because you're demonstrating, first of all, what kind of man you are. And if that relationship is going to continue and go forward, you are going to become the financially responsible person, that you're going to assume that financial responsibility. That is part of being a man. Like I said, If you don't like it, if you don't want that, then don't get married. Don't have a family. Don't do that if you don't want. But as a man, you have to take your responsibility. And if you want the authority and the respect that a lot of men demand today, then you must also take the full responsibility for the relationship, for the financial aspect of it, for the health and well-being of the people that are in your family. That is your responsibility. Now, I've always had this responsibility of taking care of whoever is in my life and being financially responsible. In fact, I became financially free on my own, like not having someone paying half the rent and whatnot, and being able to have enough financial freedom to support multiple people, to support my entire family. If you want to be able to do that, click the link down below. We'll jump on a call and you can have a plan laid out to become financially free. Now, the next video that you guys should watch is, should you get married? Okay, if you're having problems with this, regardless of whether or not, watch this video next, should you get married?